Saturday afternoon in the Mourne Mountains in Northern Ireland. Welcome to Whitebeard's Kitchen. Today what I'm going to do is a beef rendang. I'll cook this in the oven. Unfortunately my gas has run out. I've got a burner, so we'll do the first part on it. And I can't get the gas, so it will cook in the oven, but I will keep an eye on it and show you throughout the cooking process. Okay, now for cooking. Okay folks, so the first thing I'm going to do with the beef rendang is actually make up the paste. So what I have in this bowl, I have about 12 dried chilies, which I've just soaked maybe for about just over half an hour in hot water. I've taken most of the seeds out, this is about the size of the chilies, so I'm just going to put those in. I'll hang back on a little bit of the water, obviously just in case I need it at some point, either during the cooking process or for the paste. So cinnamon, a couple of pieces of cinnamon or cassia bark going in, say 2 small star anise. I'm not using green cardamom pods, I'm using black cardamom pods, so I'm only using 3 rather than maybe 5 or 6, simply because they're a tiny bit stronger. I don't have candle nuts, which would be traditional for this, not really something you're going to get in Ireland. So I have roughly about 3 tablespoons of cashew nuts going in on this. I suppose the nearest thing would be to candle nuts, would be macadamia nuts, but just haven't got those in the house. I have roughly about a 2-inch piece of galangal. It's something like ginger, a bit more citrusy I think, and a bit more fruity. Quite a tough thing to cut, so that's going in. I have roughly about 2 teaspoons of ginger, just fresh ginger. I have about 8 cloves of garlic going in. I just roughly chop those, it's going into the blender. I have then also about 6 or 7 cloves going in. In this little mixture, just going in now is shallots. I have roughly about 2 large banana shallots, and I have also 2 stalks of lemongrass, which I have finely chopped. So those are going in as well. So get those all in, hopefully not spill it onto the table. So I'll put this onto the blender and I'll come back and hopefully we'll have the paste ready to show you. Okay folks, so here's the paste. Mine is not as red as probably you might see in some recipes. That's simply because I'd added roughly probably another tablespoon and a half of cashew nuts, but I wanted to do that to make it slightly more creamy texture, but the spice is still there. Absolutely wonderful to taste it, very aromatic, so that's that ready. Okay folks, so what I have in here, just melting, it'll probably be about 4 tablespoons of coconut oil. So just bring this up to a bit of a heat, get this ready for, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a couple of bruised lemongrass stalks. So just put those in. Now that is heated, I'm going to turn the heat down on my burner. Probably on this, it's still quite a high burner, so I'm turning it down to low on this by not using my stove top today. Unfortunately the old gas has run out, no shops open to buy it, so I'll be waiting that for Monday. So you can hear that lemongrass sizzling and the smell already. So into the paste that I put in, just I have here just sitting on top so you can see it. I just put like maybe a small red chilli in and just kind of raw on top of the paste. I've some paste as well that I couldn't scrape out of the blender. So I just put a wee taste of water in that and blended it, so that will go in. I want to use every single piece that I can possibly get. It's a wonderful spice, definitely wonderful aromas with the galangal, the ginger, the star anise, the cardamom, all those things that I mentioned as I was putting them in at the beginning. Absolutely wonderful smell. I just want to fry this beef off. I'm going to turn it down ever so slightly again. I want my spices to burn. So it's really, I suppose, just to take the rawness out. And as I say, this you'll see recipes, it is probably redder. That's simply, again, I used more cashew nuts. I don't have candle nuts as I mentioned. I just used more than probably what I should have done, but I wanted to do that. It was not a mistake. This is kind of my little foundation to it, just want to make it that little bit creamy. So here we are. It's already beginning, because this is a high burner, to stick a tiny bit. I don't want it to burn. So those little bits from the blender, I'm just going to add, so just to get those all out. Taste of water. Give that a stir through. Still, I can kind of see the oil separating from the paste ever so slightly. I'm just going to add this little last drop in, and into this dish as well will be the coconut milk, which is a very integral and important part of beef rendang. Today I'm going to be putting this into the oven to do slowly. You know, you can do this on your stove top. Yep, that's beginning to sizzle nicely, and I can smell those wonderful spices. Absolutely beautiful, I have to say. I've done this once before, had always wanted to do it, and believe it or not, I think it was a poll somewhere that out of the top 50 foods in the world, beef rendang was the top dish in the world. And I have to be honest, when I did this before, I was apprehensive. It turned out absolutely beautiful. So I just want to get that beef coated. Don't necessarily need to brown it off. It'll go into the oven for probably about at least 2.5 hours. I'm using beef pieces. You could use short rib. It's entirely up to you, but you want a beef that is like a braising beef. That's for sure. As I say, I don't want to scrape anything, so taking the remnants from the low with my finger to get it in. There we are. That's great. Now what I'm going just to add is, and I could put this in with the blended spices, is 2 teaspoons of coriander powder. I have coriander seeds, so you can use those as well if you wish. Also what I have going in here now is mackerel leaves. Mackerel lime leaves. I can only get the dried version here where I live in Northern Ireland. A very sunny day it is. Not quite as warm as Indonesia, obviously, where this dish originates from, and there's a Malaysian version and a Singapore version. But they don't differ that much. So there's about 4 mackerel leaves in. Now I don't have tamarind pulp, again something not easily available here where I live, so I'm using tamarind concentrate, which is very strong, so it's just about 1/4 to 1/2 a teaspoon. There's obviously it's a sourness to it, so just stir that around, make sure it gets it all. So now in with the coconut milk, and if you can, please do use the full fat coconut milk for this, to be honest, rather than the light coconut milk. There we are, it's all going in. This is 900 mils, and sorry, in terms of the beef, it is 900 grams that I put in. And really, beef rendang is kind of like, there's 2 versions. The traditional is quite dry. Okay, so that's all the coconut milk, and you can just see the thickness. Just sitting at the top, obviously that will dissolve as the dish cooks. This is palm sugar going in. Quite hard to break up in the tub that I have. So I'm going to put in roughly about 3.5 tablespoons. And again, it's people's preference, I suppose, at the end of the day. I know there is authenticity with recipes, but you know, you have to use what you can get your hands on, and sometimes just suit maybe your own taste ever so slightly. So just going to turn this up ever so slightly on my burner. Just give it a bit of a quick boil before I put the lid on, and then into the oven. Just going to add in roughly about 1.5 tablespoons of salt, and just stir it while it's on the burner. Here we are, as you can see, starting to bubble, and I've been stirring this constantly. Lid on, burner off, and yes, I will need oven gloves. What I'm going to do now is just pop this into the oven. It's probably 2.5, possibly 3 hours. I want the liquid to evaporate, the beef to be cooked. If needs be, I can take it back out onto the burner to help some of the liquid evaporate later. Okay folks, so what I have now is a thing called caramelised. This will be incorporated into the curry later. But basically what it is I just put a knob of butter into a pan. Ideally, if you can get your hands on fresh coconut, grate it and it will be super. So what I'm using is a medium desiccated coconut. And all I want to do is just heat this in the pan with that tiny bit of butter, and I just want to get it to a deep brown colour but without burning it. Keep stirring it ever so gently so it doesn't burn. I have it on as low a heat as possible again on my burner. This will go in near the end of the curry. Okay folks, so this is the caramelised ready, so I'm just continuing to stir it because the pan's quite hot. So I'm going to get this into the pestle and mortar and let it cool, and then what I'll do is I'll grind this into a powder. Okay, so what I'm about to do now is take the caramelised, the toasted coconut, and grind it down into like a powder. As I say, don't have fresh coconut, would have been a wee bit oily. What I have done though to compensate for this, just in this part, and it's not all of it, I have two batches to do. I've added in roughly maybe about 3/4 of a teaspoon just of melted butter. Not traditional, I know, but it's one of those things when you don't have proper coconut. I have pounded the designated coconut that I'm having to use. As I say, just added maybe about half, it was actually about 3/4 of a teaspoon, just slightly of melted butter. But you can see kind of that it's now like almost a fine crumb. So that will go in to the curry maybe just before it's finished cooking. I've just had a look. I've taken the beef rendang just out of the oven to check on it. Nothing sticking, that's great. I've given it a bit of a stir. I can see, and maybe you can see, oil maybe on the surface. That's the oil from the coconut milk, and obviously it's maybe some of the fat from the beef, although there's not that much fat in the beef pieces that I had. The smell, I have to be honest, the aroma from the aromats that is in this is absolutely fantastic. I tasted it. Again, you can taste those flavours really coming through. I'm going to put it in the oven. I'm going to do it uncovered. It's probably been cooking for about an hour and a half maybe. So I'm going to take this out. Something I did say that I forgot, I should say that I forgot to put into that I did put into the curry, but I didn't mention it, was just a half teaspoon of turmeric. That probably again could have went in with the paste. I showed the caramelised, which was a bit dry for me, and I said I made it with a wee tiny bit of butter, and it was like a crumb mixture. It should be more like a paste. So what I did do then, I've used coconut oil. I probably heated about a tablespoon. I've mixed it together, and I'll show you just roughly what it's like. Now it's supposed to be almost like a coconut butter, so that's maybe the consistency that should be like. So I've lifted the rendang from the oven, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start boiling it down a bit. I'm going to need to keep a careful eye on it and stir it quite a bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in the caramelised into it, get that in, and give it a good mix round. So get that all in. As I say, it should be like a paste, so apologies for that. My fault. And again, I have to improvise with some of the with the caramelised, because just using desiccated coconut. It smells almost like a nutty, caramelly, biscuity type flavour. So I'm going to turn this right down. I can feel it already beginning to stick to the pot. Really just need to stir this from time to time. If I can get this right down, we're probably at a stage, if it's like a yellowy colour with lots of sauce, I think that's calio, if I'm right. I think then kind of this stage where it's turning a darker brown, this is goulia, and then to get it right down to that dry rendang, and I may not get that to that very dry element, diving or rendang. Okay folks, so here we are. Beef rendang has absolutely dry, which is great, just the way that it originally in the authentic method should be. There's no oil. It tastes absolutely super. It's spicy. There's a sweetness from the coconut milk, the desiccated coconut, the tiny bit of sugar. This is for the folks later. I am going to say, hopefully you enjoyed the recipe. As I said at the beginning, if you do, please give me a like. Please do subscribe. And from me, I will say bye-bye. If you can see my hand. Have a good weekend. Rock on. And I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.